Right.
That's
You're almost...
That's 10 blocks from my house. I can roll out of bed and go to that.
Good. Almost done. That's what,
Yeah.
next weekend?
Yes.
Cool.
I watched House of the Dragons.
How is that?
Okay, so it's good. Like, the writing is good, the actors are good, all the pieces are good, but I find myself unable to get emotionally invested because I know it's all gonna end up a big incest mess.
Yep.
And like, while I looked up spoilers for Game of Thrones and knew where that was going, like,
this is
since
all
they
new.
weren't all like crazy incest people, like, I did care about characters. So there's a scene that you might have seen on Twitter, where people are making the gals being pals joke. Because Princess Reina has her head in the lap of Alicent Hightower.
Right.
And says that she wants to fly away with Alicent on her dragon, and they'll eat cakes together forever, and not have to deal with this political stuff. So that's super gay.
Yep. Just gals being pals.
Too bad Alicent's then gonna go fuck Rhaena's dad.
Oh, that's a problem.
And then Rhaena's gonna go fuck her uncle, Matt Smith.
You gross.
Yeah. It's like, this is a very nice scene. It would be nicer if I didn't know
where it's headed.
Like, the very next episode is basically, this gentleman is why you shouldn't steal your daughter's girlfriend.
Gotcha.
But like, I think, like, the one thing, like, Matt Smith is doing a great job being a shit heel.
Good.
He's very entertaining.
Really doing some good scenery chewing and being a bad guy.
He's just like, he's such a piece of shit and is great at delivering his piece of shit lines. He's like very much like a smartass that isn't thinking things through.
Good.
So he is entertaining.
This is all going to come back to bite him.
Well, it's stuff like, in the second episode, he stole a dragon egg from his brother, the king.
Right. I'm just gonna keep this dragon a secret. This entire dragon.
No. He sends his brother a letter. Like, he's like, I stole a dragon egg, 'cause I'm getting married.
Right.
And my girlfriend's pregnant, and it's Targaryen tradition to put a dragon egg in the cradle, so that's why I stole the dragon egg. Anyway, here's your invite to the wedding. Bye.
Bye. Stole your dragon.
Yeah. And so, they get there to confront him to be like, hey, give back the egg. And first of all, his mistress is not pregnant. And he did not inform her that they were getting married.
Right. He's just decided this. This is a thing that's happening.
Yeah, so he gets yelled at by his girlfriend in front of, like, the small army that's been sent to, like, get the egg back from him.
This dragon egg that
and then his niece shows up on her dragon and is like, hey, fuck you, give back the egg. And he's like, nuh-uh. And then she's like,
it's a good dragon.
Well, and then she's like, listen, you're so mad that, like, Dad said I'm the heir rather than you.
So you gotta go steal a dragon?
So if you're so mad about it, just kill me. And then he leaves and tosses the egg to her, pouting.
That is that's a real... Oof.
Yeah.
Oof, sir, you've been told.
Yeah. And the guy who's playing the current king, I only know him in Hot Fuzz, as one of the Andys.
Right. It's
And
very weird to see him as Dragon King.
yeah, well, he's doing a great job.
Good.
Because he's supposed to be likable, but he doesn't like confrontations, so he keeps putting off dealing with like problems going on in his court.
That's gonna bite him.
And he kind of just lets his advisors make decisions, unless they're about his family. So like in the first episode, to go back to Matt Smith's character being a complete shit, is Matt Smith's character made the City Watch.
Right.
And the first thing the City Watch did after he was done training them is to round up all the criminals and cut off the hands of all the thieves, cut off the dicks of all the rapists, cut off the heads of all the murderers.
Generally
He doesn't
cut some bits off.
He doesn't arrest them. He just like declares them guilty and then does it.
Gotcha.
And he did this to so many people that they had to fill 2 carts with body parts.
Just a whole cart full of dicks.
Dicks and arms.
Yep.
Dicks and arms.
Well.
And so he's brought in front of all the advisors and they're like, hey, don't do that.
Maybe tell us before you're gonna do crap like that.
Yeah, they're just don't maim half the city.
Yeah, that's gonna cause a riot, and then we have to deal with it.
And he's like, listen, you told me to make a force to restore order to the city, and we have a bunch of nobles coming for a tournament, and we gotta make the city safe for all these rich people that are gonna come. And
sorry, your
the
wolf
guy
does not have
who
nearly enough tired
hates,
eyes.
yeah,
There,
guy
now
who
it's
hates
accurate.
Guy who hates Matt Smith is like, go back to your wife and like, don't you have a wife that you need to go fuck? Basically,
Go.
like, go. Don't be. He's like, go be elsewhere. Go to where your wife is and like, try to pop some kids out.
Right. Stay out of my business. Don't.
And Matt Smith responds with that his wife is so ugly he would rather fuck a sheep. And then
nice guy. Good guy that Matt Smith.
And he tells the guy telling him to go tend to his wife's needs, quote unquote. He's like, listen, if you're so concerned with my wife's bed being cold, why don't you go fuck her? Since your wife just died, so you can have my wife.
Well, that seems a reasonable solution.
So the king watches all this go down.
Yep.
And then says, hey guys, chill. Matt Smith, please stop cutting limbs off people. But
Matt Smith and his too many limbs. Put some back.
Yeah, please stop cutting limbs off people. Also, other guy, he did, quote unquote, bring law and order to the city. So he basically like does nothing about this and lets his brother get away with it.
That's gonna end real well, I'm sure.
Well, the other guy did find the one thing that would make the king not like his brother. Because in the first episode, the king's wife dies because she has a C-section.
Right. I saw some people online being like something about C-sections in House of Dragons.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, they're like, yikes. Yikes, though.
It's intercut with a jousting tournament going on. Because right before, the lady who gets the C-section says, like, the birthing bed is a woman's battlefield.
Right. So they're doing the whole it's war.
Yeah, so they're trying to do that as like a metaphor.
Yeah.
And the showrunners are all like, yeah, it was dangerous for ladies to have babies back then. But so the kid the baby dies too.
Right.
And the guy who hates Matt Smith at first is like, okay, so you don't have an heir and you need to like pick one.
Yep.
And the choice is Matt Smith or your daughter, and people don't want to follow a girl, but we really hate Matt Smith, so we don't want him in charge. And King gets really upset and basically yells at all his advisors that his wife is dead, and like they didn't even wait like a day to do this, and told them that he's not going to pick between his brother and his daughter. And then in the books, it's unclear if Matt Smith's character really said it, but in the show, they went with, yeah, he said it. But after the baby dies, Matt Smith's character throws a party and calls his dead nephew heir for a day.
Woof.
And so that is what makes the king finally turn on Matt Smith.
Right.
Like, my kid just died. Fuck you.
Yeah. Don't be partying about it.
Yeah. And so he kicks Matt Smith out of the Capitol.
Right.
And then names his daughter his heir.
Right. Screw that guy.
Yeah. And then the second episode is all his advisors pushing him to take a new wife.
Right.
And daughter being like, well, if he has a new wife, then he'll probably pop out a son eventually and I won't be heir anymore. So she's having feelings about that. And then the episode ends with her dad being like, hey, I'm gonna marry your best friend or your gal pal.
Cool. Your very good friend. Roommate.
Your gals being pals. Yeah.
Your good roommate.
Yeah, and so it's just hard to get invested because I know, like I said, it's gonna end up with Raina fucking Matt Damon's character, and I knew those gal pals weren't long for this world because one was gonna go get married to the other's dad. I also don't know if the writers realized how gay they made those scenes.
Maybe. I mean, maybe that was like some queer baiting.
It's one of those things because, like, in the books, the princess is a lot younger.
Right.
So, like, maybe they wrote the first draft of the script thinking she was going to be, like, 10.
Right.
And then they decided to cast someone older.
Which makes that scene real different.
Which makes that scene real different, but it makes another scene less creepy.
Okay.
Because while her mom is dying in childbirth, dad is throwing a tourney to celebrate the birth of his son. You know, putting the cart before the horse.
Yep.
And there's a handsome knight at the tourney who, like, flirts a little bit with her.
Gotcha. You're like, that's much less creepy if she is not 14 or 12 or whatever.
Yeah, it's much less creepy if she's not 10.
Yeah.
And to also the credit to the people running the show is when there are very weird age differences, like they really lean into like, no, this is gross and creepy and weird.
Right.
Because in second episode, like I said, is everyone trying to get the king to take a new wife. And the head of the Navy is like, you should marry my daughter because our houses have been allied for blah 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 reasons. All these many generations, and we're also Valerians, and our kids could theoretically like ride dragons. So gotta keep all the dragons together.
Yep, that's the whole name of the game.
And he proposes this, and then arranges for alone time between the king and his daughter.
Oof.
His daughter is 12.
That's weird.
And it's a very awkward scene. And then she is they don't know what to talk about until she starts to ask him questions about dragons because she thinks dragons are really cool.
Well, I mean, they are.
I mean, yeah, no, like,
they're
if you're gonna have a 12-year-old cool. Talk to an adult man, like, about a topic, dragons is a pretty good one.
Dragons is a good one. Especially when, like, the entire rule of your kingdom is predicated on dragons.
Yeah. Like, so she asks him a bunch of, hey, so, like, you used to fly the biggest dragon. How cool was that?
And he's like, yo, pretty cool, actually.
Then, she has a line that is very clearly like a thing that her dad coached her to say.
Yeah.
Where she says, "I will be a loyal queen, and I will give you many strong heirs." And the king says, "Did your dad tell you to say that?" And she's like, "Yes."
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
And he's like, "And what did your mom tell you to say?" No, what did your mom tell you? She says, Mom said I wouldn't have to bed you until I was at least 14.
Oof.
And he's like, uh-huh. And then everyone is telling him, politically, it's a good idea for you to marry this 12-year-old.
Yeah. He's kind of not into that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, his counterpoint keeps being, she's 12.
Yeah. This is a child.
So instead he marries a 16-year-old.
That's better by a whole couple of years.
Yeah. But the 16-year-old, that's his daughter's gal pal.
Oh, yeah.
Gals being pals.
Just gals being pals.
But yeah, it's incredibly well made. I am just having a lot of trouble getting invested in anything that's going on. Other than, will I see Matt Smith's peen?
You and many, I'm sure, asking that question.
I feel like if they don't, they are missing an opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
A huge marketing opportunity. Maybe they're gonna save that for season 2, but I was very much like, will we see Matt Smith's sonic screwdriver?
Yes. Correct.
That
is indeed the name for it.
Your little birdies.
My birdies are real chirpy right now. I think they are looking at some bedtime. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Everybody's squeaking now. Even Meg's in on the game.
Squeak time. Squeak party.
Squeak party.
I also watched some of Hacks, which is an HBO show about
What's that?
It's about an older lady comedian who is about to lose her regular showcase spot in Vegas.
Yeah.
So she hires a young writer to help her come up with new material. Who is desperate for work because she was canceled on Twitter. And they read the joke. A thing that I appreciate is, so they read the joke that she was canceled for.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't think someone would actually get, like, irrevocably canceled for that.
For that, yeah.
She made a joke that was about a Republican senator sending his son to conversion camp therapy.
Right.
And said senator had been caught with a male escort before, so I forget what her exact joke was, but like it's like, yeah, no one would actually cancel you for that.
Yeah.
Like, you might get told that this is a stupid joke. And it isn't a very funny joke, which is what the older comedian tells her. Like, the problem with that joke is it's not funny. And then later on it is revealed that it's maybe less the tweet that got her canceled, but more no one really liked her, so they all jumped on the opportunity to cut ties with her.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's multiple quote-unquote of her friends in LA that she runs into who are, it turns out she never talked to them except when she, like, needed a job or...
Oh, okay. And so
yeah,
it was less, this is an excuse to kind of get her out of the scene, not...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, the whole thing is about, sort of, some of the comedy is, like, generational differences in the comedy scene.
Interesting.
But also discussing sort of a little bit of snobbery. Because millennial LA writer is very judgy about everyone in Las Vegas for liking trashy shit.
Right.
And then while the comedian, because I don't know if you've heard Patton Oswalt's bit on Vegas.
No.
He said that performing in Vegas, he now has a clear line of what makes someone a sellout or not.
Oh, yeah?
It used to be, like, a vague idea of, like, well, where is the line? When are you a sellout or whatever?
Yeah.
And then doing
like,
Vegas,
no, now I know.
all he had to do was say lines from Ratatouille and got giant laughs because everyone was too drunk.
Right.
And, like,
and he's like,
he got paid more money than he had been paid to do an entire tour before.
Right.
And, like, so if he wanted to be a sellout, he's like, this is what a sellout is. Someone who just does this, phones it in, doesn't have to improve ever again, like...
But I could make so much money.
Yeah, and just live off that.
Yeah.
And never have to change anything about your act. So the younger comedian tells the older comedian, maybe retire that joke about Anna Nicole Smith because she's been dead for several years. And so it's also partly about, like, women in comedy in general, and times change, but also they don't.
Right. Yeah.
There's the great bit where the older lady returns to a comedy club to test some new material. And before she goes on, she runs into another older lady comedian. And they talk about the guy who used to own the club would try to finger them.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
And the younger comedian is like, why didn't you tell anyone that he does this?
Well, because then you wouldn't work at that club anymore. And if that's the
Yeah,
only gig
well,
you
she's
can
like,
get.
he owned half the clubs in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's not even
and
like that's awful, and I'm sure happens all the time. But like even subtle things like, oh come on, brain. She is the current host of QI. Sandy Toxvig has a story about this one comedy club in the UK where there's no bathroom that the comedians can use. So, and all the guys just pissed in the sink because of course they can just whip it out. But she's very short. So she had to get another female comedian to lift her onto the seat so she could pee in between sets.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, how? I guess no one thought that the comedy club needed a bathroom because they just pissed in the fucking sink. And it was never an issue until there was a short woman.
So then, millennial comedy writer gives this lady a hard time for, okay, I understand why you didn't do it at that moment, but then you got big, and why didn't you then go after him when you were bigger, or like share your story years later when he couldn't touch you? And at first the older comedian lady like dismisses the other character, but then she sees the current club owner be gross to
some of the younger
a newbie female comedian.
And she realizes the culture that she is complicit in.
Yes, so what she then does is she talks about, she starts her, rather than doing her new material off the cuff, she talks about like some things change, some things don't, and then she says like, and she like calls out the dude, the owner still like trying to feel up ladies' tits or whatever.
Yeah.
And says dudes like him are apparently forever. And then he like jokingly flirts with her to like diffuse the situation.
Yeah. Yep.
And she says, okay, so what's going on here is I can either play along.
Yep.
Which is making me sexualized on his terms. The terms of a man in a pleather hoodie. And she goes, or I can tell him to stop, and then I'm no fun, and I'm an uptight bitch, and I've ruined the mood of my set.
And maybe I'll never work here again.
No, because she's just saying, because she's super famous, like, they're not never going to have her back.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So
but
she's acknowledging
know,
that she...
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, but she's a
She's
prude,
acknowledging
so.
that she has that power now.
Yeah.
So then, she asks him how much money would he need to never do comedy again? And he jokingly says $69 million. And so she laughs him off, like, for haha, 69.
Yeah.
And then she goes, okay, but what about instead $1.69 million?
Right.
$1.69 million. I will write you a check right now.
Yeah, to never.
But you are legally barred from ever going on stage again. And at first, he thinks he's like, yeah, sure.
Sure, yeah,
but
you're
then
just joking.
She's serious.
Yeah.
And she has him come up and like, and he realizes, she's like, unless you think you'll make more than $1.69 million in your fantastic comedy career.
Ouch. Whew.
And she goes, I would take the money if I were you. But then realizing that she is serious, he's like, can I do a podcast? And she's like, no.
No, nothing. You'd never work again.
So she, on the cuff, gave, like, a shit ton of money to this dude so he would never work in comedy again.
Good. Oh man, but then to be the shame of like the dude who got paid to never do comedy again, like. But like, then you have a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Oof. Good.
So it was a good show. They also, the younger comedian is from Waltham, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from.
Oh, cool.
And that is a town where not even the local news from like the town over gets the pronunciation right. So kudos to this show doing their homework. Main character said Waltham right.
And you're like, damn. Okay, I know someone is from there.
Yeah, and then later on she has to go to a funeral, and they have a big ol' box of Dunkin' Donuts coffee at the funeral, and I'm like,
Good.
two
Good.
for two accuracy
Somebody's from
on Waltham. So see, you just said Waltham, and that's what everyone else says.
Right.
It's Waltham.
Waltham. Gotcha.
I'm
not from there.
Yeah.
I am from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is also fun to say. And not many people can pronounce correctly, but not quite that subtle.
But yeah, it was a fun show. There's also a fun episode where the older comedian lady booked to do comedy at a gay cruise. And then she gets there and it's a lesbian cruise.
Oh, good.
And she doesn't know what she kind of panics because the gays get her, but the lesbians not so much.
Right.
And the younger writer's like, do you think maybe it's the years and years of jokes at their expense?
Yeah, maybe. She's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
My comeuppance. Fuck.
But yeah, so it was a pretty good show.
Cool.
Kind of acknowledging like older comedians not quite getting it. It's also funny because like as the younger one is updating her act, she's like has to let the younger one know when her audience isn't gonna get a thing.
Right.
She writes a joke for the younger one writes a joke for her that's like she does like a home shopping network show usually.
Right.
And is supposed to sell like a foot massager thing.
Right.
And so the younger writer's like, you can say, hey ladies, if you want to break wiki feet,
good.
Get this.
Yep.
And then has to explain what wiki feet is to the older celebrity.
Good.
And she's like, am I on there? And both of her other assistants like, go, yes.
Yes, everyone is on WikiFeet. if your name is known in any sort of way.
And so she's okay with using the WikiFeet joke.
Right.
But then later on, the younger one has to explain a diva cup to her.
Good.
And she's like, my audience isn't gonna fucking get that.
Yeah. I can't make a diva cup joke.
But their agent is really funny because his assistant is just incompetent.
Okay.
And he keeps trying to get his assistant like fired or at least not working with him. But can't because she's his boss's daughter. So every time he tries to get her disciplined, he can't. and then finally HR is like, so you know that we can't discipline her, despite the many complaints that you're bringing forward.
Yep, and reasons we probably should.
But we can take her off your desk for her own safety, and put in a fake report about you being dangerous and violent.
So those are your choices.
Yes, but if he does the latter, he has to take an anger management class every week for a year.
Woof.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing while recovering from cons.
Good.
Is watching a lot of TV.
Yep, I've been watching some TV, not a lot, but one of the main things I've been watching is BattleBots, my absolute favorite show in the universe.
How are the BattleBots?
They're so good. They've gotten so good.
That's the one where they make their own robots to fight, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And like, so the show used to be like some interesting plucky engineers do this kind of nerdy thing in San Diego, San Francisco area, where they like take their bots and they smash them up. But that was like back in the 90s, when robot fighting was still a new art. And now it is like, imagine an MMA match with like that level of sports broadcasting and like a big announcer before all the rounds and like all of the like stats as each robot comes out. It's really exciting. It's far better than even watching wrestling, and I do enjoy wrestling. I love it so much. I get really into it. I like yell and scream at the TV. It's excellent. It's just a very, very good show.
Imagine wrestling if the wrestlers could explode.
Lane says, imagine wrestling if the wrestlers could explode. Which they do sometimes. Last season, there was an entire robot that got cut in half in like one blow. That was very cool.
I've seen some. I feel like from the ones I've seen, the robots that are most successful are the ones that look like turtles.
Yes, it's very important to have a good shell for defense. But there's the spinners are like the big dangerous weapons out there. So the ones that have like a spinning drum on the front that goes really, really fast, and when it hits another robot, there's like a big clong. Parts go flying off. It's very satisfying. So those are the ones to watch out for now. And some of the older models, like the full body spinners, are still out there, still trying to make their names, but they're not as successful as these newer young guns.
How many people make robots that like flip other robots over?
There are not as many flippers now as there used to be. There used to be a very famous flipper called Bronco that could launch a robot so high it hit the roof of the like fighting pen that they have. That was always exciting.
Because I feel like that would be the best counterbalance to fighting a turtle.
Yeah, except a lot of the turtles have self-riders on the bottom, so if you flip them over, they'll actually be able to push themselves back upright. But it was largely because of bots like Bronco that they had to make those and figure out, be like, oh, crap, if we get flipped over, we're screwed. What do we do?
Yeah.
There's also control bots that have like little clampy bits, so they can like clamp down on your robot and keep you from going anywhere. But there's rules in place where you can't just like grab a robot and hold onto it forever, because that would make for boring fights. And there's stuff that's not allowed, like you're not allowed to entangle another robot, so you can't just build like a robot that launches a net to get stuck in wheels and that kind of stuff. But very enjoyable. The main announcer before all the matches, who does the like, in this corner, it's this robot doing this kind of thing, is actually a voice actor for a lot of cartoons. But he is amazing. I am shocked that he has never done wrestling announcing before because he's excellent. Farouk. Farouk's a cool dude. I can't remember any of his voice acting roles though, but they're definitely stuff you've heard of. Man, rendering a forest in winter is a lot.
It's my favorite thing to draw.
I like drawing vegetation.
I like drawing snow.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be drawing a lot of snow in this book because it takes place in
Good.
northern Saskatchewan in the winter during a blizzard. So I'm gonna be working my snow drawing skills. I like drawing trees with lots of snow on them. Good and lumpy. What else did I do? I tried a really fun board game called Goblin Firework Night, where you play a whole horde of goblins all trying to raid this town for all of their fireworks while fighting with each other. It was very simple. You just roll some dice, or you pick some cards in the middle, and then everyone gets to pick one of the things that's revealed, and then you get to choose whether or not you're going to steal from other people. And lots of fun stuff can happen. There's also a pig that if you flip over a card and there's a pig, the pig does some random stuff. It's like a random effects. Like, he goes storming through the town and tips over all the ale, and now all the goblins are drunk.
Good.
Yep. Very fun.
To continue 10th Kingdom stuff from Emerald City. I got another wolf drawing from Mel Gilman.
Good.
I also Shonda McGuire told me the novelization of the 10th Kingdom is got some really well written prose and has some like extra scenes in it.
Ooh.
And I was just flipping through it, and I did find a couple of really good lines that are very, very evocative. Like when they first find the dwarf that has the mirror, and they ask him to give it to them, and at first they're like, it's worthless, and he correctly says, you've come an awful long way for a worthless mirror. Right. And then Virginia says, it's a magic mirror. We somehow got transported here. We just want to use it to go home. And this scene is told, interestingly, from Wolf's point of view, because it switches POVs, so you get a little bit more insight to each character.
Right, that's cool.
And so it says, Wolf listened to Virginia as she said, home. It's the way she said it, it was like her heart was there. And if she left, his heart would be there too. And it's like, oh, that's a really good line.
That is a really good line. Beautiful.
And also his whenever it's in his POV, his confusion between food and sex continues.
Good.
He does have the same problem as Legacy.
Good. Not sure if want to fuck or eat.
Yeah.
Maybe both.
And it does make it clear that in all the reason why he has that confusion is in all the other horny scenes that involve him, he wants to eat the girl. He doesn't want to fuck her.
Gotcha. It just comes across as, a little fucky.
Yeah.
I like drawing trees.
New October Day book is out today.
Oh, is it? Hey,
Yes.
exciting.
I usually audiobook it, so I have to wait 2 more weeks.
Right, right.
But I'm excited.
That's a big deal.
Gonna re-listen to the whole series the way I usually do.
Hell yeah. I read a really good book this week. That was
Yeah?
a piece of Afrofuturism called Noor,
Mhm.
by Nnedi Okorafor, and it is about a giant wind farm in the desert, and it's very, very cyberpunk. The main character has like 2 metal arms and legs. Well, I know she's got one flesh arm and metal legs and a metal arm.
Is it cyberpunk or is it solar punk?
It's a little solar punk. It's cyberpunk in that it's still fairly dystopian. So the wind farm is
Okay.
like taken over a bunch of nomadic herders' land, and one of her companions is a nomadic herder who's been attacked by the media and literally by other humans because they think that he's a murderer. But mostly they're just trying to get him off his land so that they can use it. Yeah, it's very cool. It's really, really beautifully written. And it gave me a lot of thoughts
What
for
was it
my
called?
own
Put
cyberpunk.
put the title and the author in chat so I
Yeah.
can remember to look it up later.
I should have your chat open so I can see if anyone is hanging out.
No one is talking in my chat. I'll let
Yeah,
you know.
same. Let me come into your chat and talk.
I was talking to Kevin about this last week. We were discussing like ways to promote comics without social media.
Woof.
Social media is a hellhole.
Woof. I don't know how to do that.
So in the conversation was Abby Howard, who, because she's been working on games, she has been getting a lot of marketing tips from like indie games people.
Oh, cool.
And one thing that a lot of them do is they make like Discords for their stuff. So I'm gonna try that out and see how it goes.
Cool.
I've been picking at that sort of all week. And I did successfully get in a bot that posts my tweets. And another bot that auto posts when I go live on Twitch.
Nice.
And another bot that posts my RSS feed. Those all work.
Lets you know lets your audience know when you go live on Twitch, because that's a useful one for my Trash Heroes Discord.
It's called Twitch Alerts.
Oh, cool. I should get that on our server.
So yeah, it auto posts the link like 5 minutes after you go live.
Twitch Alerts bot. Sweet.
So far the bots work all well. I'm gonna try to set it up that you have to react to the rules to get to be able to post.
Right.
But I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Also, I thought of some very funny character interactions, and now I must figure out how to get them in.
Good. In your script?
In City Between, yeah.
Good, good.
I had an idea for Connor and Jeff explaining their various positions on having their tails out. Next Jeff story, he's gonna have his tail out.
Good.
And when asked why, Connor says, like, you should keep your tail in to look more human because humans still aren't fully accepting of werewolves and blah, 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 respectability politics, basically. And Jeff is going to have his out, and since all of Jeff's stories take place in a small town, he says, like, well, since it's such a small group, like, it's a small enough group that I can safely get them to be more comfortable with werewolf stuff.
Right.
So having my tail out,
it's actually like
such and
activism.
Such, yeah, such and such.
It's good for
like
visibility.
it's riskier, but like in the long run, it will help me and you. And there's a younger werewolf they're talking to.
Yeah, he's the openly gay boy in a small town.
And so then, Connor just looks at Jeff and says, "Didn't you get shot the first time you came here?"
Good.
Twice.
Yep.
Because that is what happens in Better to Find You With. Jeff does get shot twice. And the other idea I had for a fun interaction is Connor giving Jeff a hard time for being too easy. And going over some sketchy dating history that Jeff has. Because Cinna in Better to Find You With frequently treats Jeff more like a science project than a person. So that is step one that Connor's going to be criticizing.
It's like, look, sir. Have some respect
Step
for yourself.
2 is he's going to bring up that Jeff has fucked a furry. Who was not interested in Jeff for his personality, but for his tail.
Them wolfy bits.
Yeah. And Jeff has probably fucked multiple furries. And Connor's response to that is like, have some goddamn dignity.
Literally getting some tail. Hey.
Yes. To which that is going to confuse the teenager that they're having this conversation in front of.
Good.
And then they have to explain that when they get older, they're probably going to get some weirdos that want to fuck them for fetish reasons rather
really
than
into wolves. They're really into wolves.
And then they can bring up the "does your dick not" question.
The bane of every werewolf fan who does not care about knotting.
Well, so because Jeff has fucked people that have fetishes,
right?
He's
aware of that.
He's aware of that, but also he has tried to give it a go.
Right.
Because they can, if they have enough control, they can just change certain parts of them. It just takes a lot of focus. So Jeff's response is, well, I can make it do that, but it takes a lot of concentration, so it's not very fun for me.
Right. It's not my favorite.
He's like, it makes it very hard to finish, because I'm too busy concentrating on that.
Right.
To which Connor is just like, have some goddamn dignity.
Good. There's some weird-ass werewolf fiction out there.
Yep.
Facebook ads have started targeting me. I don't know what search I did. Probably just something in AO3, but it was
Just
like,
probably
would you
just
like...
werewolves.
Probably just werewolves. I just searched for werewolves, and it was like, would you like some weird werewolf smut randomly in your feed? Like, no thank you, especially since it's all that weird alpha beta bullshit. And the way that they
Yeah.
present it is usually with like a stolen picture of anime, often with like a pregnant lady, and then like just the text from this weird fic that they're trying to push. It's very strange.
Feathery Justice, welcome to the stream. You came in just in time for us to talk about werewolf dicks.
And werewolf smut, and how bad it is.
Yeah. Well, I was telling someone that I don't really like Alpha Omega stuff.
No, me neither.
But,
I hate it.
But I think werewolf fiction has gotten better.
Really?
Because of Alpha and Omega stuff. Because it's basically there were the people that Alpha and Omega appeals to, my pal Bones jokingly referred to it as a toxic masculinity fetish.
Correct.
They were in werewolf. They were in werewolf stuff. But then like when Alpha Omega stuff like presented itself as a thing, they were like, "Oh, I can do this, but without the wolf parts."
That's my favorite. Let's do that. Yeah.
So then they
jumped
moved.
ship?
Yeah, so they
smart.
all jumped to Alpha and Omega.
Cool.
And now
and
the
left
people
werewolf
left.
smut the hell alone.
Now the people left are the people that are really into wolves.
Right.
Which does unfortunately include nodding.
Yeah.
But it's less toxic masculinity nonsense.
Good, because that's the worst, and I hate it. I'm not interested.
Yes.
That was all werewolf fiction was for a long time, and it was very annoying. I got to...
also...
Oh, go ahead.
Also at Emerald City, I met the YouTuber Jessie Gender.
Oh, cool. Rad.
Who, if you're unfamiliar with her work, she does videos about Star Trek mostly, in particular gay Star Trek.
Good. My favorite kind.
Yes. So she has done a lot of cool videos about gay Star Trek.
Good. Doing that good work.
Yes.
I got to have some good conversations with Corey at Emerald City. Both about the Magnus Archives, which I've recently gotten into and am loving so far. But also about just monster fucking in general. And how that has come some way in the media, where there are whole TV pitches that sort of amount to like, this is just a thinly veiled monster fucker script, isn't it? Somebody shopping around. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
what if the weird and unusual?
I feel like a difference between Corey and I.
Yep.
Is, well, I liked gargoyles.
Yes.
Corey, it made a much bigger impression on Corey's brain for horny reasons. And like, whereas for me, that similar sort of impression, like rewatching the 10th Kingdom, the part where Wolf says to tie him up and then is saying tighter or he'll eat her up.
Yep.
That's hot as shit. But it's key that Wolf doesn't change.
Right.
Because that's the part
where
that
you're like, nope, not interested
while
now.
I like werewolves, I don't have corniness for that. But the tying up, cause he dangerous. Yes.
You're like, good, this, yes. I was into gargoyles in a far less horny way than Corey, but, which is not to say
Yes.
that I did not have a crush on Brooklyn, who was such a cool guy and had a cool design, and I was just like, this guy's cool.
See,
It gives me feelings.
all my relationship type feelings.
Yeah.
I was telling Corey and other people, Xanatos, Owen, and Fox are my OT3. They're my favorite throuple.
You know
the part
that
where
they would have
Xanatos
an absolutely
proposes to
hot
Fox.
threesome. Yes.
Yeah. The part where Xanatos proposes to Fox, because it makes logical sense for them to get married.
Yes.
That's like, yes, good.
Good, this.
Which maybe should have been a sign that I was aromantic at a young age. Because
this does
Fox
make good
is
sense,
like,
though.
what about love? And he's like, we feel that as much as two people like us are capable of that emotion.
And it does make logical sense.
They are both very attractive and they have similar goals. And then Owen's there too.
And Owen is also there. Oh, Owen.
And he's also attractive and has similar goals. At least when he's Owen, maybe
At least
not
when he's
when
Owen
he's
and
Puck.
not Puck.
Yeah.
I mean, decades-old gargoyle spoilers, but yes. The Puck reveal is very good. I also like how the later in the second season they were like, we're just going full on Shakespeare with this. Like, it's just going to be all the Shakespeare characters. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream with gargoyles. Let's do this.
Well, it's because it's all mythology is real.
Yes. Which is not to say that that doesn't make for some awkward episodes. There's that really bad one with the native gargoyles. That's not good. It's not good. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. But they were trying.
The Aztec gargoyles?
No, I mean like the native gargoyles where like Raven shows up and shit.
Oh, okay.
Well done. They did not have any natives on that show.
I didn't register them as gargoyles. I think they call them something else in the episode, but
I think they do, yeah. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yes. Feathery Justice, yes, I hand letter, that, this is my handwriting, so, but yes, I do, everything digitally by hand, and, I usually do the lettering first, because, then I know how much space is needed, and also, I can move them around while I draw.
Man, drawing trees is satisfying.
What?
Drawing trees is very satisfying. They just look good.
I love drawing trees. I love inking trees specifically. It's very, like, relaxing.
Yep. It's a little weirder for me to do on my tablet rather than with my brush pen, so I have like a specific hand motion that I do for trees with my brush pen, because brush pens are so good at drawing foliage. And I've got a couple brush pen brushes on Manga Studio, but none of them really feel like my brush pen. Let me see if I can do one of the strokes that I usually do. I'll do it on this other document.
Feathery Justice, I did recently get a font of my handwriting made, but I haven't, this isn't that font. Like, I lettered the whole book before I started drawing it, so I haven't put it to the test yet. The comic I am making with Ryan North will be the first time I put my hand lettering to the test. My new font to the test.
Hell yeah.
I lettered that and was like, there is so much text in Ryan's comic. This is more text than ever before.
No, this one is not quite as brushy as my my normal brush pen. Let me give it a shot though. There's a really fun hand motion that you do to kind of make grass. No, this one's not coming out quite as brush penny as my normal. Let's see if I can make it not look horrible. But I could sit and ink grass for a long time too.
Feathery Justice, please give me all of the fan art. If you tag me on Twitter, I will see it. If you already follow me on Twitter, I don't see notifications from people that don't follow me. But yeah, no, give me all of the fan art. I don't check Twitter that often, but I will get pinged if you send me fan arts. I love fan art.
Fan art's awesome.
Yeah. Feathery Justice, who are you going to draw? Oh, the other fun thing about setting up that Discord that I'm gonna make live soon was picking a bunch of different emotes.
Oh yes, I love that.
Right now, all the emotes are like screenshots of Pete Campbell because I have a problem.
Good.
And Wolf from 10th Kingdom.
Good to admit. Here's some good brush pens. There we go. Enjoy some foliage, y'all. Look at this brush. Good brushes. And then if you want a little bit of a rock in here, and you come back with a brush. Some texturing. I am stupid excited for the Lord of the Rings show. I know it's very controversial, and then a lot of people have had some problems with it. Most of them are racist problems. Some of them are legitimate. But I am very, 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 very excited for some more Lord of the Rings content.
I'll definitely be interested in how it goes.
Yes.
Feathery Justice is going to draw me Magical Girls, my Misfits of Avalon team.
Oh, good.
Good.
Nice.
They don't get enough love because Dark Horse didn't tell anyone that book existed.
Thing is, if you're going to publish a thing, you should really advertise it. I've heard.
Yeah.
There's some foliage. I could draw this all day, and I'm going to for the next several months.
Cool.
I work on this graphic novel.
Feathery Justice, as long as you give Elsie a pug face, and Morgan a beaky nose. I'm sure it will look good.
That's the good
Ray's
stuff.
easy to draw as an anime because she is conventionally attractive. That's why she's the biggest asshole of the group.
Good. As it should be.
I love to draw Elsie's face. Also, if you want to know how to animate up Elsie's face, just look at Kuwabara from Yu Hakusho. Because Elsie is basically Kuwabara. Feathery Justice, that doesn't surprise me because Dark Horse is super bad at telling people to order it or that it exists in general. So, I believe it's on Amazon, but Amazon might be sold out too. Because Dark Horse, who knows if they restocked it.
Ever. Or know that it exists. Remember that it is a product that they could sell.
And Kuwabara is indeed a lad. If you like Yu Hakusho, it makes sense why you like Misfits of Avalon, because Misfits of Avalon, I came up with the idea of what if the cast of Yu Hakusho were magical girls? The end.
Good. Strong premise.
I like
what
the reaction to live action Kuwabara casting was mostly people being like, this actor is far too attractive to play Kuwabara. He needs to look like he got his face smashed in with a brick.
Mm-hmm. Were you there at San Diego when I saw the Kuno cosplayer?
No, but I did see the Henry Dubois
Yes.
cosplayer outside.
So, the Henry Dubois cosplayer was the only reason that I knew that was Kuno, because there was a guy wandering around who just kind of had that face. And he was just kind of like gesturing, and I couldn't hear what he was saying or anything, and I'm sure he was, talking like Kuno. But it was just, I was just like, man, that guy really looks like Kuno. That's weird. And then, like, a minute after he went by, the Henry Dubois came by and went exactly the same way that Kuno had, and then I vaguely saw the two of them together later, and I was like, ah, that's a cosplay. That guy
See, I
doesn't
saw
just look like that.
Henry Dubois on his own, so
Gotcha.
and I only kind of realized he was Henry was because he had the one glove on.
Yes. Because he also, too, just kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
That cosplayer was just like, well, I've got a perfect cosplay now. You said that you saw him pull the expression, which is very good. I did not.
Feathery Justice, I'm glad you liked Ray, even after it was revealed that she was the worst one. No, that's good. Feathery Justice, it's good that you're in the chat. It gives Alina and I something to talk about,
No, please,
other
please
than
talk.
whatever. Yeah, we
If anyone is
crave
out there,
engagement.
please talk to us. It's great. We love
Otherwise,
it.
we're just gonna keep talking about werewolf dicks, and that's probably gonna chase some people away.
Yeah. And it may draw others.
Who will get disappointed with my werewolves because their dicks don't not. And but yeah, Ray is I really liked writing her. I like that
Let's draw a stupid thing.
yeah, Ray is also like, it's fun because the captions in Misfits of Avalon, I was kind of thinking, like, I hate it when captions are redundant, which is fairly common in comics, unfortunately, these days, where they're basically telling you what the art is also telling you. So I tried to make it so Misfits of Avalon, if you took all the captions out, is a very different comic. Because like, if you took Kimber's captions out, you might not get how insecure she is, and you also might not realize that she's gay, because she hasn't quite figured out that she's gay. And obviously, Ray's section comes out completely different if you don't know that she's the worst one.
I have drawn a very dumb thing, and I must share it with you, Kel.
Good, give it to me.
I'm gonna save this and post it in the chat. Anyone who's in my stream can already see this abomination. Oh boy. Let me not save that in my work folder.
Thank you. Also, Feathery Justice. Elsie's captions were the hardest to write because Elsie blurts out everything that she's thinking. I might do another City Between story with captions. So far, I just have Fame and Misfortune, but
I don't know why this makes me laugh so hard, Kel. We were just talking about nodding, and I couldn't resist.
It's good.
There. Here's some foliage as a palette cleanser for my chat.
Also, Feathery Justice, my favorite trick is when the caption box covered what other characters were saying because the POV character wasn't paying attention.
Good.
Like, that's one of my favorite things that I've ever done in comics in general, is whenever that happens. It also happens in Fame and Misfortune. But it's also a great way to get around, like, exposition. Alina, I don't know if you've read Fame and Misfortune, but that was my favorite lettering trick that I did in it.
Good. That is a solid lettering trick. Of the POV character being like, yeah, I don't care. Anyway.
Or they're just thinking about something else. Like, I have, Elsie is trying to find a pen so she can write down the important information that's being conveyed to her.
Right.
And so her thought is, gotta find a pen, gotta find a pen, gotta find a pen, gotta find a pen. And then then she realizes that she completely missed everything that was said.
Gotcha. God damn it.
This is my favorite page. Here, chat. This is my favorite Misfits of Avalon page.
Good. I'm switching over to full screen so I can see it.
Really, it's just panel 4.
Good. Oh my god, the dog is talking.
The dog is talking, the dog is talking, oh my god, the dog is talking. And then panel 6, the dog is talking.
Good.
Feathery Justice, I try to keep all the city between stories underneath 100. I do not always succeed. The one I'm doing now is 111 pages. Elsie is my favorite. But yeah, so I try to come up with a sort of system or structure. So in the first Misfits of Avalon, each girl's story is 40 pages, like each of their chapters. And then in the second book, which is longer than the other two, Morgan gets an extra 40 pages compared to everyone else because she is the quote-unquote main character. And then the last one goes back to the 40 pages of for each. My other favorite scene is when Elsie kicks the shit out of Ray. Because
Good.
the other thing while doing Misfits of Avalon is I wanted the fights to not be pretty.
Like all those beautiful, beautiful shoujo fights.
So
It's
like
so
there's
beautiful.
there was a Tumblr for a little while called girlfights.com, which is actual like random people fighting who don't know how to fight properly. So it's a
Right.
lot of like someone just wailing on another person,
Yep.
or like getting a chair to whack someone with. There's a lot of like while trying to push the other person off of them, like their hand going in awkward places.
Oh yeah.
So like if you look at the Elsie kicking the shit out of Ray fight, like or when Elsie fights King Arthur, there's like a part where like her hand awkwardly goes in King Arthur's mouth because
Yep.
she's just trying to shove him away.
Yep.
I'm not successfully conveying squinting.
I am so ready for summer to be over. And I mean,
Yeah, it's too hot.
it doesn't feel like it really began for me because I've been at conventions all summer and we're preparing for conventions.
Yeah.
But also, I'm done. I would like cold snuggle weather now, please. I want to wear a lot of blankets. And drink hot tea. Not that I haven't been drinking hot tea all summer, but like, it hits different on a cold day. I'm just looking at this winter scene and thinking of winter. Thinking wintry thoughts. I was writing a scene that takes place in a blizzard this morning as well, so thinking of nice cold winds. And then I went and ran around with my mom on the side of a mountain today in the 30-degree heat. So that was a choice.
Yeah. Gross, gross, gross.
Yeah. We definitely made a choice.
Squinting is hard to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Feathery Justice, the 100 pages is more because thinking about if a page is going up a week, I didn't want a story to be lasting online longer than like 2 years. So that was more like, rather than like, oh, it needs to be
In print,
that.
a print length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
2
you
years is long
want
enough
like,
that people forget what happened at the beginning of the storyline,
yeah,
unless they're reading it on an archive dive.
yeah. So like, it also gives me a good like stopping point. Like that's a pretty okay place to like I like to write the whole thing beforehand. I don't like to wing it. So
Yeah, same.
Okay, this is gonna last a little over a year. That gives me time to write the next thing, but also time to clean this up. If you're printing something, usually if you're gonna have a spine, you need at least 64 pages. Murky Water is 111, and that is so far the longest City Between story. I'm gonna try to go back down to less than 80 for the next one. The next one's about vampires.
Nice.
And how they're terrible.
The 1% of the supernatural world.
Well, it's also that they're capitalists. So it's basically not all vampires can be the 1%.
Right.
But so like a newbie vampire would be someone who aspires to be the 1%.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't go well. Because a lot of the 1% is the 1% because they were there before everyone else.
They didn't have to do anything to earn their fame and fortune.
So basically, I have that there's about, most vampires don't make it past 100 for various reasons. There's maybe 50 that did, total. And obviously the older ones of that are more powerful than the younger ones. Feathery Justice. Werewolves are the proletariat, and that's why they're always the good guys in the City Between. And vampires are never. While they might end up sympathetic, they all kill people, and they all are like, I'm not making them the heroes.
No relatable vampires. Oh, so tragic.
I mean,
so relatable.
Vampire Lady in the other one, in the next one, is at least people will find her sympathetic, hopefully. But she's still gonna murder a fuck ton of people.
Vampire.
City Between World, when vampires feed off people, they also get their memories. It's a metaphor for stealing their life. And so the next book is a newbie vampire looking for the vampire who made her, but that is hard because she doesn't know what memories are hers and what memories are people that she ate.
Right.
And the only way to help figure that out is if she keeps eating more people, because eventually all the people that aren't her will drown each other out.
Right. And she'll be left with memories that are actually belonging to her.
Yeah, well, it would be easier to tell which memories are actually hers.
Right.
And but the solution to that is she has to eat a shit ton of people.
Lots of murder. The solution is murder.
Yep, all murder.
Well, I'm just about ready to wrap up on this big night of drawing trees.
I got one more panel and then I'm done with this page. Gonna draw a fight next.
Nice. Fight scene.
They gotta fight the Thalmanip, who are basically benders from Avatar.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so while doing Sorcery 101, people criticize me for calling the people who could control an element mages, because that means a specific thing that I was unaware of in high school. So when I was making City Between World, I wanted to have a term to use to describe them that was unique. So they're Thalmanips, short for thaumaturgic manipulators.
Gotcha.
And because I want to avoid calling people like witches or demons or anything like that.
Yeah.
I need to think of a term for the backwards werewolves.
Wolf who turns into a human sometimes.
Yeah, so the City Between World, there were basically magic wolves, which are magic animals in general, which were bigger than normal animals. So they're basically like the wolves in Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
And sometimes they could control elements, which is where you get like phoenixes and shit.
Good.
Or at least legends about them. And so then humans hunted them down, and they were going extinct. And werewolves and any other type of were creature is a failed attempt to turn humans into them, because the animals were thinking, if the humans are us, they'll stop killing us. So it's a way to replenish their numbers while also depleting human numbers, and it didn't work quite well.
Right.
So the backwards werewolves are basically Princess Mononoke
wolves.
Wolves. They're supposed to be super duper extra rare, because humans killed them all.
Right.
And I do plan to have at least one show up in the City Between. A wolf lady who kind of like lives either on the outskirts of town or outskirts of the city, or like maybe near the sewers, in the sewers or something. The reason for not living in the woods proper is because she sees werewolves as like the closest thing she has to children left, and werewolves by nature of being part human tend to be more in cities than anywhere else.
Right. So she wants to be close to them.
Yeah. She fucking hates Connor. He's a traitor, in her mind. And it's because she is old enough to remember the last time humans found out about the supernatural, so Connor revealing that werewolves are real, she's like, this is just asking for us to get genocided all over again. So
Let's
you
not.
can go fuck yourself, Connor.
Can we not?
Yeah. And so I need to think of like a term for them to get called by werewolves, but then they also probably need a term that they call each other. Like, I was also playing with the idea that maybe they don't have names because that's a person thing.
I like that.
Like, why do we need names? To, you know, go to gargoyles again.
Yep. Could do a thing where it's like, if you need to call me something, call me the one who lives up on the hill, or the one with the gray patch.
So,
if you must have a name to call me.
Yeah, basically. And so that's kind of what I wanted to go for with her.
Cool.
And then she was gonna pop up in a story about this teen wolf here that Maria is protecting on the page I'm drawing.
Good.
Because his whole thing is, rather than having a person who became a werewolf angst because they think they're a monster because of the wolf part, he thinks the bad part of him is the human part. And this wolf lady is not really helping him get over that. But the idea is that he had an abusive, shitty stepdad who now he's like, wolves don't treat each other like that. Just people do. I also thought of a cool, like, little prologue for if I ever dig deeper into the backwards werewolves.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because so also City Between World lore, everything that's not a person and can use magic is from these two entities that used to be one entity. Like, they were the source of magic, and then they got split in two, so now one's male and one's female. The guy one, all creatures of light are descended from him. And this includes backwards werewolves.
Good.
And then all creatures of darkness is the female one can't actually have children of her own because she's supposed to be darkness and death and stuff like that.
Right.
So all the creatures of darkness, the difference between them really is creatures of darkness get made rather than born. So werewolves were her trying to help her nieces and nephews.
Right.
So they have like a legend about their great father abandoning them, and then their great aunt saving them, and that's their mythologized version of werewolves getting made.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so creatures of darkness, like I said, would be werewolves because you get bit and you get made into a werewolf. vampires, because again, you get turned into a vampire. And that's how all the sort of quote-unquote creatures of darkness roll. And both of those entities are not allowed to interfere with the others' creatures.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But like, they're supposed to be even sides too. So there's vampires, and they haven't shown up in City Between World, but there's elves too.
Right.
And so it's supposed to be like power-wise, elves and vampires are kind of the same thing. Reverse werewolves are obviously the counterpoint to werewolves, and so on and so forth. And so Thalmanips, there are immortal ones, and then there are mortal ones that are mostly demon hunters. So this teen wolf's in trouble because a Thalmanip is after him.
Gotta fight some benders.
Yeah.
Alright.
The Thalmanips are basically a eugenics cult.
Gotcha. Good. Supernatural eugenics.
They make for good bad guys.
Alright, well, I think I am out of juice for one evening.
Alright, I'm gonna just finish up this panel and then I'm done.
Cool.
Feathery, they are kind of traditionally elves, but they're a little bit more plant-based. They're actually maybe closer to nymphs, because since vampires get hurt by the sun, elves are powered by the sun. So,
solar-powered elves, I dig it.
Yeah, so they're like tree elf creatures. So they're a little bit more nymphy than they are Tolkien elves. And they have, a lot of them have like green hair that looks like vines and shit like that. So, but yeah, the other idea with the dark and light is also, order and chaos and whatnot. So, I have that a lot of the light creatures, because they like organization, they lean toward fascism. And that's how I make them the bad guys.
Oops.
And a lot of the sort of magic rules for creatures, they only apply to non-human magic creatures, because it's never gonna get revealed in the comic, but the two source of magic things came into existence because of humans believing in gods in general. Like, so it's all human belief mushed together made them exist. And that is also partly why they ended up dividing on the gender binary, because it was based on like an amalgam of what humans believe in rather than a specific human belief. The only rule for human-based magic is it believes because humans believe it works. But it works because the caster believes it works. Thank you for stopping by. I have now finished my page.
Cool.
I will
werewolf.
be. Yep.
This one far
I will
less
be
silly.
streaming. I will be streaming tomorrow with my pal Joe. So stop by then. You can find all my stuff at kelmcdonald.com. Alina, where can people find your stuff?
You can find my stuff at alinapete.com or at AlenaPete_art on Instagram. And I'm also going to be streaming on Friday when I do my actual play called Trash Heroes, and it'll be on my channel, Were Geek Comics. So
All
check
right.
us out on Friday.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.